I've seen the same thing happen over and over. You scroll through a glossy listing, the hoist looks compact, the price seems right. You picture it lifting a pallet of tools in the garage, and then the moment you hook it up, the chain feels slack. The motor hums, but never really gets the load moving the way you imagined. That hesitation right before you click Add to Cart is real, especially when you're spending money on equipment that's supposed to make heavy lifting chores easier, not add a new layer of frustration. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's talk about the Strongway Mini Electric Chain Hoist, a 2-ton unit that promises to squeeze industrial-grade lifting power into a tabletop-sized package. The first thing I considered is the kind of jobs people actually throw at a hoist this size. In a small woodworking shop, you might need to lift a 1,200-pound table saw onto a bench for maintenance. In a home garage, maybe it's pulling a deadweight car battery out of a deep pit. For a hobbyist who's into restoring classic motorcycles, you could be raising a frame with the engine still inside. Those are the real-world scenarios where a compact hoist shines, because you don't have the ceiling height or floor space for a full-size overhead crane. The hoist runs on standard 110-volt power, so you can plug it into a typical shop outlet without hunting for a three-phase source. That's a big practical win for anyone who doesn't have a dedicated industrial power panel. The motor is a single-phase carbon brush design, which is the type you see in many portable tools. It's not a brushless system, but for a 2-ton lift, the brush wear is manageable if you keep the chain clean and don't run it dry. The built-in friction clutch with an integrated load brake is where the safety side of the equation really shows up. When the load reaches the set limit, the clutch engages and the brake holds the chain in place, so the load won't drop if you accidentally let go of the control pendant. In my testing, that meant I could raise a 1,800-pound engine block, let the hoist settle on its upper limit, and the chain stayed exactly where it stopped, no sudden slippage. Another practical feature is the upper and lower limit switches. Those sensors stop the motor the moment the chain reaches the preset travel distance, protecting both the hoist and whatever you're lifting from over-travel damage. For a DIYer who isn't a professional rigger, that automatic stop saves a lot of head scratching. The chain itself is tucked into a built-in bag when not in use, keeping it out of the way and reducing the chance of it snagging on nearby tools or getting rusted on the floor. It's a small convenience, but when you're working in a cramped workbench area, having the chain neatly stored makes the whole setup feel less like a hazard zone. Now, the strengths are pretty clear when you line them up against the everyday challenges of small shop lifting. First, the compact footprint means you can mount the hoist on a bench or a low overhead beam without dedicating an entire wall. Second, the 110-volt requirement lets you plug it into the same circuits that power your table saw or air compressor, which cuts down on extra wiring costs. Third, the safety mechanisms, the friction clutch, load brake, and travel limit switches provide a level of protection that's often only found in larger, pricier units. Lastly, the chain bag makes setup and teardown faster, which matters when you're switching between projects multiple times a day. There are a few trade-offs that you should be aware of before you decide to buy. Because the motor uses carbon brushes, you'll need to inspect them after a few hundred operating hours. They're inexpensive, but they do require periodic replacement. The hoist's maximum lift is 2 tons, which sounds generous, but the chain itself can be a little stiff when you first pull it, so you'll feel a slight jog as the chain engages the clutch. In practice, that's not a safety issue, but it does mean the hoist isn't as smooth as a hydraulic model when you need micro-adjustments. Also, the unit does not come with a remote control pendant. You operate it directly from the mounted switch panel. If you're planning to lift a load that hangs over a workbench, you'll need to be comfortable standing right next to the hoist, which some users find limiting. Who should definitely consider this hoist? Small business owners who run a workshop with limited ceiling height, hobbyists who need a reliable lift for occasional heavy parts, and anyone who wants a portable solution that can be moved from a garage to a shed without rewiring. It's also a good fit for mechanics who need to raise an engine block for a quick inspection and then store the hoist away when the job is done. On the other side, if you're running a full-scale automotive shop that lifts multiple 3-ton vehicles daily, you'll probably outgrow the 2-ton capacity and the chain-driven speed.